In the annals of history, few events resonate with the same power and significance as the American Revolution. It was a transformative period that reshaped the course of human history and laid the foundation for a new nation built on the principles of liberty and justice. It was a time of great upheavals, a period when 13 colonies dared to challenge the might of the British Empire and forge their own destiny. These colonies, each with its own unique character and challenges, united under a common cause that transcended their individual differences. But what led to the momentous clash? What were the underlying tensions and events that culminated in full-scale revolution? What were the grievances that ignited the flames of rebellion in the hearts of American colonies? The seeds of discontent were sown through a series of British policies and acts that the colonists found increasingly oppressive and unjust. To understand the American Revolution, we must journey back to the 18th century, a time when the colonies were growing in population and prosperity. The bustling towns and thriving farms were a testament to the hard work and resilience of the colonial people. As the colonies matured, so too did their desire to greater autonomy and self-governance. The colonial assemblies began to assert their rights and challenge the authority of the British Crown, laying the groundwork for broader movement towards independence. However, the British government, burdened by debt from recent wars, viewed the colonies as a source of revenue and sought to exert greater control over their affairs. This led to a series of unpopular measures such as the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts, which further inflamed colonial resentment. This clash of interests between a burgeoning colonial society yearning for freedom and an imperial power determined to maintain its grip set the stage for a momentous confrontation. The colonists' growing sense of identity and their desire for self-determination clashed head-on with British attempts to tighten control. The American Revolution was not merely a war for independence, it was a battle for fundamental principles, for liberty, equality, and the right to self-determination. The Declaration of Independence, with its powerful assertion of these ideals, became a rallying cry for the colonists and a symbol of their resolve. In the sections that follow, we will delve deeper into the causes, key events, and lasting legacy of this pivotal chapter in American history. We will explore the battles, the leaders, and the ordinary people whose courage and sacrifice made the revolution possible. Join us as we explore the American Revolution, a story of courage, sacrifice, and enduring pursuit of freedom. This is not just a tale of war and conflict, but a testament to the human spirit's unending quest for liberty and justice. Together, we will uncover the rich tapestry of events and ideals that gave birth to a new nation and changed the world forever. At the heart of the colonist grievances lay a simple yet powerful phrase: no taxation without representation. This slogan encapsulated the growing frustration and sense of injustice felt by the American colonists. The colonists believed that they should not be subjected to taxes imposed by the British Parliament without having elected representatives to voice their interests. They felt that their rights as Englishmen were being trampled upon as they have no direct say in the laws that affected their daily lives. This principle, deeply ingrained in English common law, became a rallying cry for the burgeoning resistance movement. The idea that taxation should be accompanied by representation was not new. It was a cornerstone of English political thought dating back to the Magna Carta. The British government, however, argued that Parliament had the right to tax the colonies as part of the British Empire. They believed that the colonies were subject to the same laws and taxes as any other part of the empire, that the colonists were represented in Parliament, albeit indirectly. After all, the colonies benefited from British military protection and trade regulations. The British saw their military presence as safeguard against foreign threats and internal unrest, and they believed that the colonies should contribute to the cost of their own defense. To enforce their authority, the British Parliament passed a series of acts, including the Stamp Act and the township acts. They levied taxes on various goods and services in the colonies. These acts were seen as direct challenge to the autonomy of the colonial governments and overreach of British power. These acts were met with widespread resistance. The colonists viewed them as unjust and oppressive, and they were determined to fight back against what they saw as an infringement on their rights. Colonists organized boycotts of British goods, staged protests, and formed groups like the Sons of Liberty to challenge British authority. These actions were not just about avoiding taxes, they were about asserting their rights and demanding a voice in their own governance. The colonists' message was clear. They were willing to pay their fair share, but only if they had a say in how they were governed. They sent petitions to the British government outlining their grievances and calling for the repeal of the oppressive taxes. The conflict over taxation was not merely about money, it was about principle. It was about the right to self-governance and the belief that government should be accountable to its people. It struck at the very heart of the relationship between the colonies and Great Britain, raising fundamental questions about representation, consent, and the nature of political power. This growing discontent would eventually lead to the full-scale revolution, forever changing the course of history as tensions escalated between the American colonies and the British Crown. A pivotal event occurred in Boston Harbor that would further inflame the simmering conflict. The Boston Tea Party. This act of rebellion was not just a spontaneous outburst, but a calculated move by the colonists to send a clear message to the British authorities. In 1773, the British Parliament passed the Tea Act, which granted the British East India Company a monopoly on tea sales in the colonies. This act was designed to prop up the struggling company by allowing it to sell surplus tea directly to the colonies, bypassing colonial merchants. While the act was intended to help the struggling tea company, it was seen by the colonists as another example of British tyranny. The colonists were already frustrated with a series of taxes and regulations imposed by the British government, and the Tea Act was the final straw for them. They viewed it as an attempt to undermine colonial business and enforce them to accept taxation without representation. The slogan, "No taxation without representation," became a rallying cry, symbolizing the colonists' demand for a voice in their own grievances. On the night of December 16, 1773, a group of colonists disguised as Native Americans boarded 3 British ships, docked in Boston Harbor, and dumped 342 chests of tea into the water. This bold act of defiance was meticulously planned and executed, demonstrating the colonists' willingness to take drastic measures to oppose British rule. This act of defiance, known as the Boston Tea Party, sent shockwaves throughout the colonies and across the Atlantic. News of the event spread rapidly, igniting a fire of resistance and uniting the colonies in their struggle against British oppression. The British government responded swiftly and harshly, closing Boston Harbor and enacting a series of punitive measures known as the Coercive Act. These acts were intended to isolate Massachusetts and force the colony into submission, but they had the opposite effect. These acts, intended to punish Massachusetts for its defiance, only served to further alienate the colonists and solidify their resolve to resist British rule. The Coercive Acts galvanized the colonies, leading to greater unity and cooperation among them. This period of escalating tensions and increasing resistance set the stage for the American Revolution, a struggle that would ultimately lead to the birth of a new nation. The simmering tensions finally boiled over the open conflict on April 19, 1775 in the towns of Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. British troops dispatched to seize colonial military supplies clashed with the colonial militiamen, marking the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. The first shots fired at Lexington Green though their origin remains a subject of debate, ignited the flames of rebellion that had been smoldering for years. As news of the fighting spread, colonists from neighboring towns and villages rallied to the cause, forcing the British retreat back to Boston. The battles of Lexington and Concord, though small in scale, were of immense significance. They marked the beginning of armed conflict between Great Britain and its American colonies, transforming a political dispute into a full-fledged war for independence. The shot heard round the world, as it would later be called, signaled the birth of a new nation and inspired revolutionary movements around the globe.